Hi, my name is Lisa Yates. I'm a midlife African American who identifies as female. I'm wearing a blue and white striped shirt, and my background today is a yellow wall with a white bookshelf. I'm a counselor for students with disabilities in a Southern California community college. My co-presenter is...
Hi, my name is Cameron Douglas, and due to cancer of the eye, I've been totally blind since the age of 2. I am currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in communications at California State University, San Bernardino.
Before we begin, in the interest of accessibility, I would prefer to describe the images on my slides for attendees with vision impairments or who may be using technology that doesn't allow them to see the images, but the time limit prevents that. So the images have been previously described to Cameron and are described in the notes beneath each slide. If anyone would like those descriptions, they can email me at lyates2@live.ndm.edu. Let's get started. In an effort to counter negative perceptions about disabilities, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the World Health Organization have asserted that nations must make efforts to improve the quality of life for individuals with disabilities around the world, and that schools should increase awareness and understanding to reduce discrimination and stigma. Understanding disability requires information about how the environment satisfies or frustrates the individual's symptoms. Understanding about disability should come from individuals with disabilities themselves. However, it's more likely that individuals with disabilities are the subject of study in college rather than being viewed as experts who have information needed to educate others. For my dissertation and beyond, I've taken up the United Nations and World Health Organization's mantle to increase disability awareness and understanding at my college, and I hope to reduce disability discrimination and stigma in my community. In 2016, I created an annual event called Beyond the Cover, in which students with disabilities act as living books, and their readers are college administrators, instructors, counselors, staff, and students. The event uses semi-structured conversational learning format, which has been shown to increase comfort in discussing sensitive subjects and allows students with disabilities to share, while removing some of the enigma surrounding what can be seen as a taboo topic in higher education. Beyond the Cover Living Books seeks to reduce stigma one conversation at a time. As the creator of Beyond the Cover, a participant recruiter, a disability counselor, and the doctoral researcher in this pilot study, my background can be helpful in that I understand issues related to disability and learning in higher education. Further, as an individual with a disability myself, I was able to bond with the participants. However, my bond and my background can also be a hindrance when it comes to researcher objectivity and potential bias. Therefore, extra care must be taken to ensure the credibility and validity of the study. On November 20th, 2019, I conducted an interview with Cameron Douglas for a pilot study to test out the narrative methodology that I had planned to use for my dissertation and to practice my interviewing skills. Cameron, in my opinion, is an expert on blindness and disability by virtue of his life experience, and he's a communications major, which may have put him at ease during the interview. Following the interview, the digital recording was transcribed word for word into a document and analyzed for the most frequent iterations. These were color-coded and counted until themes emerged. Notes and memos recorded my thoughts while analyzing, and Cameron was consulted to validate the codes and the emerging themes. For instance, people was at first the most frequent iteration. However, this code became subdivided because sometimes the word referred to people without disabilities and sometimes people with disabilities. Sometimes it referenced people who attended the event. Sometimes it was specific to people who were sighted. Using a back and forth winnowing process, including Cameron's post-event surveys, his responses to interview questions, the codes and themes, and researchers' notes and memos, The analysis reached a data saturation point where no new codes or themes emerged. So 3 themes developed. The first, perception of disability, had 2 subcategories related to perceptions of people without disabilities and perceptions of blind people and other people with disabilities. Next, teach to learn, specifically that people with disabilities must be open to teach and people without disabilities must be willing to learn. Lastly, people with disabilities versus society had 2 subcategories of individuals with vision impairments and society's discomfort with disability. My conclusions were that to ensure credibility, if I were to structure my dissertation around this topic, I would need to triangulate by including more participants and adding quantitative data and other artifacts that I didn't have time to collect. Additionally, disability is commonly framed using a medical model and with the advent of disability studies in education from an educational model. But disability is also socially constructed, and this aspect lends credence to the use of conversational learning to deconstruct myths and misconceptions about ability and normalcy. Also, I coded the transcriptions manually, and it was labor intensive, and it required me to go over it several times to ensure accuracy. But there are software programs available, and they digitally code transcription that I plan to use for my dissertation. In addition, some participants indicated that the event was empowering, and Cameron expressed increased confidence and said that it helped him to communicate about his disability in other contexts. Finally, my last interview question to Cameron was a challenge to describe his experience as a living book in 1 word. And after some consideration, he said, insightful. I've asked Cameron to share his thoughts.
So when Lisa initially came to me and asked that I be a part of this living books beyond the cover, I was immediately interested because it wasn't your usual disability awareness event with speakers and presentations, but it really fostered an environment which allowed for just this natural dialogue between those with disabilities and those without. Really, I think it helped change perceptions, not only with people with disabilities, but also those who came to the event and engaged in this dialogue. The word insightful, I chose this word because we don't only just see with our eyes, but also we see with all of our other senses, and it's our brain that really does the seeing, and it's our perception is why I chose this word. And this was a very important event, really helped not only me, but others.
Thank you, Cameron. And we talked about that perception and how the eyes interpret what the brain sees. And
yes,
that was,
exactly.
So that word insightful, I thought was a great word, because people without disabilities or people with vision would be surprised that somebody without eyes would use a word like sight to sum up his experience. So thank you for that, Cameron. And we talked about maybe some of the people who attended the event might have gone home and talked to other people about their experience talking to somebody with a disability, and how it, for many, it was the first time they'd really had a chance to ask questions and find out more. So your part in that was so important. And as far as my future plans, my doctoral plan is to conduct a mixed method study on the 200 surveys completed by attendees at the Beyond the Cover event. Postdoctorate, I look forward to diving into other living books to know if their experience as a living book carried over into other areas of their life. I'm also very interested in the intersectionality of race and disability, and I plan to share my findings in journals and conferences. And I'm also interested in teaching educators about ableism and conceptions of normalcy, and what I've come to know as the ability spectrum. Thank you for viewing our presentation. Thank you to Cameron and to Dr. Snyder and Dr. Dotery, who are 2 advisors at Notre Dame of Maryland.
Thank you.